It's Monday, May 29th, 2017. I just recently spent some time with an old friend of mine who was having some problems I hadn't seen in years, so I went to visit him. I ended up staying up there with him for a couple of months. While I was there, I witnessed some amazing things. My friend, we'll just call him Billy, seemed to have lost his way and was descending into madness, self-loathing, self-pitying. Woe is me, completely consumed by the ways of society and this corruption. I knew as soon as I got there, I could feel the darkness. Now I just traveled 400 miles to come see my friend, and when I get there to his house, he's not even there. So I wait, and he shows up straight fresh off a crack bender. Looked like the Walking Dead, straight zombie, puking, coughing his guts out. I knew this wasn't going to be a fun trip from the very start. And the events that I witnessed in those couple months I was there, I could probably write a book. This stuff is deep. But in one of our many debates and conversations, we got to speaking about some stuff, and something very amazing happened. I'm going to share that with you today. My friend is an educated man, and he's raised in the church. He knows the laws of God, but yet he does not believe. And I was trying to show him that, boy, you are possessed. You got the darkness on you. And every little argument he came up with, I had something to shut him down, but he still just wasn't listening. So one day we were sitting down talking, and he's asking me, what do you think the problem is? So I'm telling him he needs to repent. Now, before this conversation took place, or shortly after I had got there, he was joking around one day, and he was talking about how he was trying to teach his dog to speak. Jokingly. This gets deep, so just listen. So we get to talking, and I'm sitting in this chair, and he pulls up this old chest and sits down on this chest, and we're talking. I'm telling him, you need to repent, you need to bend that knee. And his dog is walking around in circles around him, around the chest, or we're walking around him. And we get to talking, and all of a sudden I feel the spirit come over me, and the dog looked at me, and his eyes started glowing like a bluish green color. And I'm sitting in my head thinking, now, I'm imagining that this is, it's just a reflection of the light or whatever. So I'm paying attention to this dog, and everywhere he moves, no matter where he goes, his eyes are still glowing this bluish green color. It was no reflection of light, because every angle you could see his eye glowing. So my friend's talking, and the dog starts freaking out. And the dog he comes up and puts his nose right in my friend's side and starts chewing on his side, like, not like a dog would nip at you. He was like chewing like a rat. It was the funniest thing. So my friend starts freaking out, and he's like, man, what is wrong with you? The dog's name is Sisu. And he's like, what is wrong with you, Sisu? What are you doing? I said, I think the dog's trying to tell you something, Billy. And he's like, what are you talking about? I said, man, the dog is trying to tell you the same thing I'm trying to tell you. You need to repent. And when I said that, the dog starts freaking out, right? The dog runs over to the corner and just starts barking, and he's barking and barking loud, like I've never heard. I had been there for weeks at this point, and I never heard the dog go off like this? And my friend is freaking out, and he's telling me, what is going on with the dog? I said, I don't know, Bill. I said, I think he's trying to tell you something. I said, is he? I said, I think he's trying to tell you something. I said, does he normally act like? He's like, nah, I've never seen him do anything like this. I said, he's freaking out, right? So my friend is like, well, what is going on? And I'm like, the dog loves you, Bill. The dog's trying to tell you something. And as soon as I said that, the dog said, "Arroo!" And then he kept barking, and Billy looks at me and he says, man, did you just hear that? Did you just hear that? I said, yes, brother. I heard that. I said, you are not freaking out. You're not imagining this. I said, yes, the dog just said, I love you. So he's tripping, and we keep talking, and the dog is just going off and barking and barking and barking. He's telling the dog to shut up. I said, Bill, you need to bow, get on them knees and repent. And he said, no, well, I got bad knees. I can't do this. I can't do this. And the dog starts going ballistic, and the dog said it again, "Arroo!" And my friend looks at me and he says, man, did you just? I said, yes, I hear this, Billy. You're not crazy, brother. I hear these things that the dog is telling you. I said, look at him, look at him. And the dog put both his paws, stretched both his front paws out, and put his head down on the ground with his butt sticking in the air and bowed. The dog bowed. I said, see, look, Billy, he's trying to tell you something. He's trying to tell you something. He's trying to tell you, get down on your knees and bow. And he's like, no, this ain't happening. This ain't happening. I said, yes, Billy. I said, look. And the dog bowed again. And I said, Billy, man, you got to wake up. You got to snap. I said, this is real. I said, this is real. You need to repent. I said, your life will get better. You need to start praying. And he's trying to argue a little bit. He's trying to argue. And I said, see, look, Bill, the dog just told you he loves you. He wants to save you, Billy. He loves you. I love you, brother. The dog loves you. And the dog, he's like, no, that was just a freaking, that was an accident. That was a freaking nade or something. That wasn't shit. So the dog, I said, look at him, Billy. Look at him. And the dog, I'm telling you, in slow motion, the dog slowed all the way down. He stopped barking. He looked dead at my friend in slow, just like that, in slow motion. I swear on everything. My friend is losing it now. He's like, no way. And I'm like, Billy, look. And this is going on. I'm talking about this dog was freaking out. This took place over the course of like 10 minutes. The dog was just going ballistic for like 10 minutes straight. And then the dog finally, we were talking, and the dog finally bowed a third time. And I said, Billy, it's not a joke. It's not a joke. You know what I'm saying? And man, this stuff was so crazy. Now, this just goes to show you how powerful the darkness is, because even after these things, my friend still has all these doubts and these questions and oh no and oh no. But I think that was a waking point for him, because after that, he really started to listen a little more. He's still deep in the darkness, but he started to listen more after that. And now when I spoke to him recently, he said he started praying. He got a job because he had lost his job, and he got off the drug. He ain't doing drugs, and he sounds like a normal person again. But people just don't understand. The spirit is real. Seek God while you still can. This was just a small story of my recent spiritual experiences, but it was actually a good one, so I thought I'd get away from the doom and gloom for a while, because I have many others that are not so pleasant. But I leave you with this. Isaiah chapter 3 verse 4. And I will give children to be their princes, and babes shall rule over them. And the people shall be oppressed, every one by another, and every one by his neighbor. The child shall behave himself proudly against the ancient, and the base against the honorable. When a man shall take hold of his brother of the house of his father, saying, Thou hast clothing, be thou our ruler, and let this ruin be under thy hand. In that day shall he swear, saying, I will not be a healer, for in my house is neither bread nor clothing. Make me not a ruler of the people. For Jerusalem is ruined and Judah is fallen, because their tongue and their doings are against God, to provoke the eyes of his glory. The show of their countenance doth witness against them, and they declare their sin as Sodom. They hide it not. Woe unto their soul, for they have rewarded evil unto themselves. Say ye to the righteous that it shall be well with him, for they shall eat the fruit of their doings. Woe unto the wicked, it shall be ill with him, for the reward of his hand shall be given him. As for my people, children are their oppressors, and women rule over them. O my people, they which lead thee cause thee to err, and destroy the way of thy paths. Yah standeth up to plead, and standeth to judge the people. God will enter into judgment with the ancients of his people, and the princes thereof, for ye have eaten up the vineyard. The spoil of the poor is in your houses. What do you mean, you beat my people to pieces, and grind the faces of the poor, saith God of hosts? Moreover, Yah saith, because the daughters of Zion are haughty, and walk with stretched out necks and wanton eyes, walking and mincing as they go, and making a tinkling with their feet. Therefore the Most High will smite with a scab the crown of the head of the daughters of Zion, and the Lord will discover their secret parts. In that day Yah will take away the bravery of their tinkling ornaments about their feet, and their calls, and their round tires like the moon, the chains and the bracelets and the mufflers, the bonnets and the ornaments of the legs, and the headbands and the tablets, and the earrings, the rings and nose jewels, the changeable suits of apparel, and the mantles, the wimples, the crisping pins, the glasses, and the fine linen, and the hoods, and the veils. And it shall come to pass that instead of sweet smell there shall be stink, and instead of a girdle rent, instead of well-set hair baldness, and instead of stomacher a girding of sackcloth, and burning instead of beauty. The men shall fall by the sword, and the mighty in the war, and her gates shall lament and mourn, and she being desolate shall sit upon the ground. And in that day 7 women shall take hold of one man, saying, We will eat our own bread, and wear our own apparel, only let us be called by thy name, to take away our reproach. In that day shall the branch of Yah be beautiful and glorious, and the fruit of the earth shall be excellent and comely for them that are escaped of Israel. And it shall come to pass that he that is left in Zion, and he that remaineth in Jerusalem, shall be called holy, even every one that is written among the living in Jerusalem. When God shall have washed away the filth of the daughters of Zion, and shall have purged the blood of Jerusalem from the midst thereof by the spirit of judgment, and by the spirit of burning. And God will create upon every dwelling place of Mount Zion, and upon her assemblies, a cloud and smoke by day, and the shining of flaming fire by night. For upon all the glory shall be a defense. And there shall be a tabernacle for a shadow in the daytime from the heat, and for a place of refuge, and for a covert from the storm, from rain. 5:11. Woe unto them that rise up early in the morning, that they may follow strong drink, that continue until night, till wine inflame them. And the harp and the viol and the tabret and the pipe and wine are in their feasts, but they regard not the work of the Creator, neither consider the operation of his hands. Therefore my people are gone into captivity, because they have no knowledge, and their honorable men are famished, and their multitude dried up with thirst. Therefore hell hath enlarged herself, and opened her mouth without measure, and their glory, and their multitude, and their pomp, and he that rejoiceth shall descend into it. And the mean man shall be brought down, and the mighty man shall be humbled, and the eyes of the lofty shall be humbled. But the God of hosts shall be exalted in judgment, and Yah that is holy shall be sanctified in righteousness. Billy, I love you, brother. Get on them knees and ask for forgiveness. The truth is my sword, and Yah is my judge.